Hello everybody and welcome to Letterboxbookclub. I am Mackenzie.
And I'm Claire.
And today we will be discussing the highly recommended, although unfortunately not necessary read now,
Oh, Jesus.
A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout.
Yes. So there's been many a discourse online in terms of the reading order in regards to this series, because this is a somewhat prequel event that's happening within this main storyline, I guess.
Yeah.
And so just quickly, my question to you, Kenzie, is it worth it? Like, does it make the next book make sense in any way?
No.
Okay. There you have it.
Yeah. So you're meant to read this in between A Crown of Gilded Bones and The War of Two Queens.
Yeah, which is what we have done, and thus that's what our recording order is going to be as well.
Well, it's what you've done, which is fantastic, but I've already read the other one.
Oh,
so,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so in your humble opinion and your expertise, you don't think it's that necessary?
I don't think so, no.
Cool.
And I think you could have done what I did and read
War of Two Queens first.
War of Two Queens, and then go back. No, okay. Anyway.
But yeah, anyway.
We digress, as always.
The blurb, please, Kenzie.
The blurb. It's a long one, because of course it is. This is from Goodreads. Born shrouded in the veil of the Primals, a maiden as the fates promised, Seraphena Mierel's future has never been hers. Chosen before birth to uphold the desperate deal her ancestor struck to save his people, Sera must leave behind her life and offer herself to the Primal of Death as his consort. However, Sera's real destiny is the most closely guarded secret in all of Lasania. That's the name of the kingdom, but I'm just going to call it Lasania, because in the book it sounds like lasagna as well. So
yeah, you just can't help it.
Yeah. She's not the well-protected maiden, but an assassin with one mission, one target. Make the Primal of Death fall in love, become his weakness, and then end him. If she fails, she dooms her kingdom to a slow demise at the hands of the rot. Sera has always known what she is. Chosen, consort, assassin, weapon. A spectre never fully formed, yet drenched in blood. A monster. Until the Primal of Death's unexpected words and deeds chase away the darkness gathering inside her, and his seductive touch ignites a passion she's never allowed herself to feel and cannot feel for him. But Sera has never had a choice. Either way, her life is forfeit. It always has been, as she has been forever touched by life and death.
Thoughts, feelings, emotions, Kenzie?
Thoughts, feelings, and emotions. If I was reading this as a standalone book, I enjoyed it a lot. It was a very good book. I feel like it hit the pacing really well. It hit every sort of like main plot point really well. It was all bundled up nicely in the end. Things made sense. I didn't really have a lot of questions at the end. As a whole in the series, and to be like, well, this will explain what happens in this, it's poo-poo.
Fair enough. And that's all, I guess.
All, yeah.
Okay, cool. My thoughts, feelings, emotions. Yes, I agree with you with the standalone point, but I found at the end it just seemed like the last maybe 15% everything happened. And it's like resolutions occur, and it's like this could have been maybe spread out a little bit more as well, because it got to towards the last 10%, and like we've only just circled back to like the three gods murdering people, and it's like that's just resolved, and then all the revelations at the end, it was a lot. But,
I remember messaging you, and I had 4 hours left in the book or something, and it was probably all that last like 15-20% of the book, and then where everything kind of was coming undone, and I was like, this could have happened earlier, I guess.
I think Jennifer as an author has like she's become too consistent in having a lot of pages dedicated to just like the dialogue and interactions between two characters, which is great because you love that bond, you like seeing those relationships form in front of your eyes, but unfortunately it is taking up a lot of time. And then you get to the last 20% and like, all right, we've got to resolve the gods. The gods, that whole them killing people seemed a bit inconsequential at this point, because that was resolved in a matter of a chapter. And then just like everything about like Sera's role moving forward in terms of her powers and all that type of stuff is like, it's just so much and overwhelming still. Ultimately, I did enjoy it though. Like despite the qualms,
I enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it, but and then I was, but it really did open like my little pea brain into this world, because obviously, hang on, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I'm nervous now. I don't know why. I feel like the world now makes sense.
Yeah.
In a way, which again, it could just be my pea brain, but like it shouldn't take 3 main books and then a prequel book for me to finally like make everything click for me. But then again, that could just be for me. Perhaps I'm just rushing myself or skimming a lot or whatever. Like this could all be my fault, but But yeah, like, it shouldn't take a prequel book to make things make sense. Because, like, throughout the original series, it's like, the gods just sleep.
Yeah.
They're just asleep. Like, you couldn't fathom them walking amongst the mortals and them dipping in and out. But obviously in this book, you know, there's examples of that.
Yeah.
They're just coming and going
Also,
as they please, and they're just their own beings.
In the prequel, I think it's like 200 years before. And it's like, that's not a long time.
Yeah, I just
for
realised
you to,
that's...
like, get tired and be like, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, even like Malik and Iris, if we're talking about them, like they're themselves as gods would not be that old.
Yeah, no,
anyway.
they'd be
yeah
young because they're the children of
yeah. Brave assumption moving forward that Sera remains alive
Yeah.
and that she's the mother of
So it was-
Malik and Iris.
And I guess we'll just like get into
Yeah, but
some of-
I was just going to say quickly, like, even though it did make the world kind of make a bit more sense, but it's just because it's set 200 years before everything, like, there are still adding new things,
Yeah.
new concepts, like the godlings, or as a definition, like, are they technically the deities, or is there something different?
I know, and I was still confused about, like,
in, like, the
'cause they're
societal
talking
hierarchy.
about, like, oh, here's the right, and this is the chosen, and they're going to ascend, and it's like,
It's
but
a
is it,
completely
like,
different
it's a completely
thing.
different thing, which is, I guess, what they touch on in the original series is that, like, the ascended took it and like made it into this
it's like a
gross thing.
skewing of history, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool in a sense.
Yeah.
But it's like it feels like you're still trying to introduce more things while we're trying to work out the OG stuff in the original series. But Jennifer loves to overwhelm me, and I will forever be overwhelmed with this series. I don't know if I'll ever see peace. I'll never know peace again. Perhaps before we kick on into the plot, we can just have a bit of a pre-discussion about just like Sera and Ash or Nyktos or whatever and their characters, because we've discussed this prior and we think that like it's just Castile and Poppy 2.0,
Yeah.
even though Poppy and Castile came first.
I think there's some scenes where I'm like, was this just like a cut scene of Poppy and Castile that you just wanted to use somewhere else?
Yeah, but do you bring no.
Also, another thing that took away, I don't know, the enjoyment of this is that there kind of was no stakes, because it's like, well, I know that Seraphena becomes the consort.
Yeah.
And I know that, she becomes a consort of Nyktos. And so I'm like...
It's almost like a what's the point
Yeah,
type
like
of...
when Ash is like introduced.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you haven't introduced any other love interest. So I was like, I know that this person is Nyktos.
And
like...
if we remember from Blood and Ash, you know, like even with Castile being Hawk, like Hawk is the nickname, Ash is like obviously from a different title, like the Asher or whatever.
The Asher of Death.
So like it seems like you're just copying the same kind of structure in a way.
Yeah. I know, it's like this. I'm wondering if this was like, kind of taken from plot of Poppy and Castile and then just molded into a different story when people like, we want to know about Nyktos and Seraphena. And like, who's really asking for that?
Yeah, honestly. I just think ultimately, because obviously speaking freely, the book ends with the whole revelation of like Colus, you know, switching to the Primal of Death, life, and whatever, blah, blah. I'm going to make an assumption that might have some sort of play in War of Two Queens.
But then also, Seraphena is the Primal of Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, it's all about that balance shit. But, yeah, I'm going to assume that still is going to get resolved-ish, or have a mention in War of Two Queens. I don't know. Does it? No? No?
I'll give you that.
So then what's the point in having a prequel series? If everyone's already confused about the main from Blood and Ash series.
This is what I'm saying. There's like...
Right.
And also, there's... How do I say this? So, there's a big thing, this isn't a spoiler, there's a big plot in the next book that you need to call upon the consort, but no one knows her name. Like, it's a secret, like the name's been hidden. And then Poppy is like, oh, I realise I do know her name, it's Seraphena. And then I'm just like, how do you know this? And I thought that was going to be explained, how Poppy would know it, and it's not explained.
Because I know in the current series now, there are moments where she sees this, like, person figure, and she's like, I'm not a monster, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, I feel like that's relating back to Sera, because obviously Sera feels like a monster in this book, and that's a whole thing in itself.
Yeah.
But, like, but for Poppy as a character, like, it just comes to her.
Yeah.
I suppose they do share kind of powers.
Well,
it could be
grandmother.
that... Yeah. So, like,
Yeah.
that could be that, familiarity and
there's
powers.
also, like, one thing that happens that I was, like, screaming, crying, throwing up.
Okay, yeah.
And then it was...
It was the joining.
No, that one I was the horny version of screaming, crying, throwing up. Anyway. Big thing happens, screaming, crying, throwing up, and then it is unhappened.
Okay.
And then that's the only thing that I can see how that's explained, and then this book explains why that was able to happen.
Okay.
But apart from that,
ultimately not necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, it's weird. It's just it's weird. Like, you have so many qualms, but you can just still, at the end of the day, be like, I still enjoyed it. Like,
yeah, I enjoyed it as a standalone book. I didn't enjoy how Tik Tok kind of took it and were like, you need to read this. Like, it makes so many things make sense. Yeah. Like, blah blah blah. And I'm like,
fair enough.
And then didn't really need. I love Nick Doss. What a himbo. Love him, but I didn't necessarily need a backstory for him.
Right.
I don't need backstories for these gods that are kind of inconsequential.
Especially leading into the main series as well. There's it's just an aspect of who they are, I guess.
Yeah, it's like this.
It's nice to have that introduction. Oh, like, yeah, we get to interact with Scion. We get to meet Ector and Eos and Belle.
Yeah.
Or is it Belay? I don't know. I call it Belle.
Belle in the audio. It's Belle.
Okay, yep. See, I'm so glad one of us actually does listen to the audiobook, because, like,
Me,
you have
at
that...
the start of the podcasting journey, when I was like, I don't do audiobooks, I hate them, and now I'm like,
It's good, because at least you know how they pronounce stuff.
Yeah.
I also found some of the gods quite, like, aloof. It's like, and they're making, like, funny, like, jokes and stuff, and it's like, you're gods. I thought you were meant to have a more serious type
I know,
of role.
I did enjoy their banter, though. I was like, oh, you're not a big serious person.
Nah. But then, I feel like there was a bit of a switch up kind of with Nick Doss, because we first interact with him in Crown of Gilded Bones, and he's like, I'm not going to help you, fuck off, essentially. And obviously he didn't say that, but he was very like strict and like, I don't want to deal with this.
He was like, you already know what you need to do. I was like,
very wise,
your granddaughter.
very stupidly wise.
Yeah.
But then in this book he's like, kind of like Castile in a sense, like he's bantering, he's like, very
in the grand scheme of things, like, it's 200 years. Like, he's not that old.
Yeah, I feel like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not, it's not a long time.
Doesn't need to be this, like, tired. Like, I'm grumpy. Like, I'm over helping save everyone, blah, blah, blah. It's like...
Yeah. And so that's where I thought there was a bit of, like, a switch, because we see him as, like, but maybe we just don't really know him that well. And obviously this prequel book is what sets him up to be the kind of person that he is. Because he does seem to have, like, two different personas. Obviously he has his, like, primal overlord, like, you will do as I command, and then he's just, like, soft with Sera and soft with his friends.
I also love that he's a virgin.
I really love that too.
I was like, oh,
that's very interesting. Because you just assumed, like, gods and primals just, like, conquer everybody and everything and get what they want, take what they want, etc. But no, it was nice. It's just a different idea, which is cool.
Yeah.
I think there was a moment, I know we're just, like, talking freely, but whatever. There was a moment with Eos, how she's talking about, like, the primals and gods, and, like, she just explained it really well about the reasoning why they go to sleep. Like, even though we got that explanation kind of from Castile, Eos, obviously written from the point of view of a god, like, she has a far greater understanding. Also, in terms of learning new information about this series, like, I think there was, because in this world there's, like, 10 primals? Or something. There was, like, courts and stuff, and, like, that sort of, like, societal hierarchy, and I just thought, this is just adding more layers to confuse me.
Stop telling me these things I don't need to know.
It's supposed to be helpful for the next book, but apparently not. But I don't know. Overall, enjoyed it. And a lot of resolutions at the end, which I feel like could have had a greater impact. But anyway.
I feel like as well, a lot of time was lost with Sera and Nick Doss being like, this doesn't mean anything. Like, this is just a contractual obligation.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you guys love each other.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and it got to a point where it was like, we're spending too much time just back at her home and castle. I'm like, when is shit gonna hit the fan? But alright, maybe we can just, like, dig into a bit of a plotty plot now, and then we'll just, like, freely speak as we go.
Also, I think we timed this, but this can get cut out if it needs to be. To all our podcast listeners, I am with child.
Congratulations, Kenzie. Woo!
Thank you.
Child number 2.
Yes. So if I sound deflated or anything, it is because I'm battling the most horrendous all-day sickness.
But she's a boss-ass bitch, and we love her.
And so, yeah, now I need to eat and drink all day.
Yep.
Yep. And my stomach hurts.
That's also for other reasons.
Because I need to shit. That's because of the baby. Pregnancy makes you block that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. It's a whole thing.
Just add it to the list.
Joyous, wonderful time of life. It's so beautiful.
Where's that chick with the TikTok,
list.
the list of like reasons not to have children or be pregnant?
You will not be able to shit for a week.
Alright, so I guess this story is set in the
Lasania.
Lasania or whatever. And we'll just quick fire some characters that may receive mentions and talk about further.
Mm-hmm.
So we obviously have Seraphena.
Sir Holland.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I'm just blanking, dude. I don't know. This book is so overwhelming to talk about.
There's Sir Holland. There is Ash/Nyktos.
There is Queen Calliope.
Yep, I didn't hear her name once in the book, so maybe I just wasn't listening, or I'm a fucking idiot.
King Roderick will make a mention.
Yeah, King Roderick.
What's the other guy? King
Ernold. King Ernold.
Tavius.
Yeah, Tavius. Ezra.
Princess Ezra. Yep.
Yeah.
We have obviously the gods. Yeah,
The
Eos,
gods.
Ector. Why am I forgetting their names now?
Scion. Is that one?
Yeah, Sion's Cove. Obviously, that's where he lays.
That makes sense. Hang on.
You didn't think about that? But yes, we also have Rain, an honourable mention.
Oh, yeah.
Theon, Layla, Nectas,
Oh, yeah. Nectus.
And then we have, like,
Jadis.
and Reva.
Yeah, it was nice to see Reva as a child. That was fun. I was like, I know you.
Yeah, you seem familiar. Other characters, Cressa, Mattis, Tarek, the three gods that seemingly, with the plotline that like you thought would drive the whole story, but
Oh, yeah.
really.
They're just killing people. They're just having a good time.
yeah, I suppose that could. Oh, Belle and Raha.
I'm glad you paid attention to all this.
I my notes are scattered, bro. And honestly, anybody else that may pop up or whatever. So yeah, Sera is described as this maiden. We are very familiar with the concept of a maiden who is chosen, who is blessed.
Yes, because her ancestor made a deal with the Primal of Death that he would give the Mierel daughter to him as his consort. Anyway, so she has been raised as a maiden, the chosen, the veiled,
Whatever. Yes.
whatever. She's also been trained
Yes.
in seduction.
Because her goal is to kill.
Because there's a couple of ways to kill a god, but the most effective way is to get them a weakness, and their weakness is love. So the goal was, okay, we'll give you over, but you have to make him fall in love, and you have to kill him. Sick. So she was trained in like seduction by like the mistresses of the Jade, which was cool, and she was also trained to fight by Sir Holland. So,
Which is very much Poppy and Victor.
oh yeah, which is interesting.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, because Sir Holland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get
I
there.
see where you're going with that, yeah. Oh, like, what?
Which is why I think I'm like, was this like a
Was
first
this a
draft?
scrapped? Yeah, first draft, yeah.
Anyway, and so she's veiled, whatever, we're very used to this concept.
No one knows who she is.
yeah.
She's just guised as like a handmaiden under.
Well, no,
like,
she is the maiden until she
But
gets
like, yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah. But even then, no one still knows who
Oh,
she
then
is.
they don't know she's like the daughter.
She's under. Yeah, no one knows the
Yeah,
daughter.
they just
She's
think she's the
under.
chosen.
She's the maiden, but she's
Yeah.
guising under a handmaiden.
yeah.
As a servant. And then
So then they go to the Shadow Temple. They summon when she's 19. 17. 17. Yes, sorry. Sorry.
It's alright.
Minor.
Yeah,
That's
no.
illegal. Anyway, and
For the Primal of Death. It was always very vague, the Primal of Death, even though like we kind of knew it's Nyktos.
so they summon him, and he looks at her, and he's just like, I'm in no need of a consort or whatever.
And then pisses off.
And then he leaves. Now, this is where it gets stupid
Okay.
for me personally.
Okay.
One,
Let it out.
so she gets rejected, sad times, and then because the guy made a deal with the Primal of Death saying, if you help my lands like prosper and everything, like I'll give the daughter to be your consort.
Yeah.
So, I was gonna say Poppy. So Sarah's born, blah blah. Sera is rejected, and then this rot kind of like starts to take over the kingdom, and so they can't farm the lands people are dying. It's a whole thing. And
It's like just a plague.
Yeah, and so Sera thinks it's all her fault because she's been rejected. So because of this, her family, well, her mother, and it's her stepfather and stepbrother, because her daddy's dead, kind of just start to reject her. And they're like, this is all your fault, you suck.
Yeah.
So then, they just say she's a handmaiden. And, like, her mum doesn't make eye contact with her. And then the only one in her family who's, like, kind of her friend is
her stepsister.
her stepsister, Ezra.
As I was reading, sorry to interrupt, it was giving me, like, Cinderella vibes.
Yeah.
Like, very heavy Cinderella vibes. And even, to an extent, Beauty and the Beast vibes. Which is just, like... But I suppose, you know, when you're introduced to those, like, themes... Because, they're Disney movies and all that type of shit. So, like, you recognise those sort of aspects inadvertently.
Yeah, and so they also try, like, 3 more times to summon him, like... And he doesn't come. We later find out that they never did summon him. Because they're like, well, you were rejected, so... Why would he come anyway?
Which... They don't have, like, faith.
Yeah.
Like, they just gave up.
Yeah.
Hello. Weak ass. Weak mental.
Yeah. And so then because of this, Sera kind of just has, like, free reign of the kingdom. She gets to run around, she gets to train with Sir Holland, she gets to go and get her socks rocked.
Mm-hmm. She can do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
Except she's just, like, a failure and, like, a black sheep almost of the family. And
and
everyone's super mean to her.
They don't feed her. She has to scrounge for her own food in the kitchen, but lucky, like, the people in the kitchen like her, so they give her food.
But she's also the family's almost personal assassin as well.
Yeah.
Any sort of dirty work that they want done,
Yeah.
they send her and she kills them. Or kills the people, whoever.
So do you want to talk about the first night she meets Ash?
First night she meets Ash. Well, firstly, before that, like, the build-up of, Sera is, like, we see her more in her assassin sort of element. Yeah, her mum asked her to kill some lord, and, like, she kind of seductively does that and kills him. And I think maybe even on the way home from that, like, she recognizes these gods in the mortal realm, and they've just, like, killed this family and this baby, and she's more enamored by the baby being killed more so than anybody else, because, like, obviously the baby's innocent and all that type of shit. And then so she wanted to kill them kind of on sight, and then she is stopped by this mysterious figure, and he's like, I'm not going to let you make this stupid decision, like, because you're just going to die if you tussle with a god. Then she ends up facing him and recognizes, like, a silvery ether in his eyes. And he's like, you're ether. And, like, he is a god of sorts. And so that's how they meet, and they kind of banter on, and they... See, I thought it was going to be, like, a buddy cop murder mystery. Like, they're going to follow these gods around, they're going to fall in love, it's going to be great. But no, it's not that at all. But yeah, and so obviously Sera is kind of, like... constantly thinking about these gods, because why are they just killing mortals? Because like it doesn't seem right, it's like unethical, but then like gods can do almost whatever the fuck they want, same as primals. And yeah, that's where they meet and kind of kick off their sort of relationship.
Because they're gonna get seen because they're in an alley or whatever, and he's just like, kiss me, because he has her, like, her legs are around him. It's very hot.
I mean, I love a good make out so they don't see us trope situation.
Good people don't like public displays of affection.
Oh yeah, and this is also 3 years later after she was first rejected, so she's 20 odd years old now. Not that it matters to like a 200 or 300 year old primal god, whatever.
But it matters to me.
It matters to me. And the 3 gods in question are recognized as Cressa, Mattis, and Tarek, and they serve, I think they serve Colus's god, whatever, in Delos or whatever the fuck, I don't know. See, I get confused sometimes. Because there's another god that gets mentioned in Delos, which is Callum, because I remember you messaged me, Callum, and I thought he was like the primal of life, but then it's Colus, and I got confused. But
because Callum is like the first revenant.
And then later on, they encounter the gods killing again, because it was one of the queens, like her mother's seamstresses, ended up dying for some reason. Yeah, I forget. Oh no.
A lot of it, I think, is just Sera being in the right place at the right time and seeing these.
Yeah. Or like it's because obviously later on it's explained that like every time because she has her powers, her gifts, her healing, and or bringing back from dead. Every time that happens, like it causes like a ripple, and that's why the gods in that. They're trying to find the source of that.
Yes, because
and
she
so, because I'm pretty sure she had saved a bird before that, and that's why the seamstress got killed.
Yeah, she has healing abilities.
Yep.
Which is very interesting.
So yeah, obviously, And obviously that's not, doesn't get revealed to the end.
Yeah.
But which it makes sense, because, like, every time she does, like, something miraculous, ripple
Yeah,
effects.
it sends out a ripple, yeah.
And the
power.
gods are just trying to find the source, because Collis is threatened.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection till just then.
Oh, really? She literally says it, Kenzie.
Yeah, well...
Oh, you just wanted to get it done, I guess. There was a bit of a time crunch on this one.
Yeah, I realised when she's in the Shadowlands...
Yeah, until it was spelled out for me, I had no idea that's why the gods were
I was like,
able to.
in the Shadowlands it makes sense because her powers are amplified.
Mm. Oh, okay.
But I didn't realise that it was because I thought they were just killing people for fun.
No.
Okay. No. I see.
Because I think there would have been a ripple effect when she brought Marisol back to life. I don't know who died as a consequence of that.
Yeah.
But then I think she brought a bird back to life,
yeah.
or even a wolf, and then the seamstress has died. So they're just trying to find the source of that. And there's a point where, like, I think he's Niktos.
We do it.
Kind of scares Sera, and she stabs him in the chest, and then that becomes the ongoing banter, kind of like a la Poppy stabbing Castile. It's like, this is so inappropriate.
And some of it I was just kind of like it's too familiar.
Yeah.
As like I understand you're trying to draw the parallels of their relationships, but it was a bit too on the nose.
Yeah, for sure. And then it really is just about Sera's assassin's journey and her healing things and healing people and, like, doing good. She ends up, like, I think her stepsister runs, and, like, her stepsister's girlfriend, I guess, Marisol, run a little operation where they save children from, like, abusive households and or mistreatment and that type of thing.
Sorry, like, a majority of the book was a lot of plot padding.
Right.
Just to get to the main point. And then they have a handful of these interactions, Ash and Sera, and like Ash, because I don't know, they're making out or whatever, and she's like, I don't even know your name, and he's like, oh, like some people call me Ash.
Yeah.
And then they have a handful, and I don't know why she can't recognize him.
Yeah, because there was this whole thing about her her having to go at him for not recognizing her. But I think it was more because it was cloaked, maybe. But he would have seen her and been like...
But he said, he's like, I knew who you were the whole time.
Right, yeah. I don't know, bro.
I think maybe he was shrouded in darkness.
Perhaps, yeah. Because, like, maybe he was in his primal form and he's a bit like tunnel vision in the primal form, perhaps. I don't know.
But yeah. Anyway, so they have a...
But then, if we remember, Niktos as a god, as a primal in history, no one really knows the details of, like, his face and all that shit.
Yeah.
So, like, that's probably why.
Or if she was veiled, then yeah, I'm like, why didn't she recognise him from when she was rejected?
Maybe he was just well covered as well.
Yeah.
And she has scuffles with her stepbrother and stuff because he's all like, I'm going to be king, or he's not trying to be king, and she's all...
he won't step up because he has to marry, but then she poisons his fiancée so that he can't marry because she doesn't want him to be king because he's very much a Joffrey.
Yeah, very terrible being. Also, I have a quick qualm.
Yes.
Because you probably know what I'm about to say. Maybe. So there was... I don't know if there's... did you pick up any, like, grammatical errors throughout reading?
Yeah, there was a few sentences that... Oh, I know what you're going to talk about. You can talk about this one.
Yeah, but, like, I'm just... As, like, a fun little context,
Oh,
I
yeah,
guess.
there was, like a describing sentence, like describing why Tavius can't be king or whatever, it was said, and then a few sentences later it was said again, word for word.
Yeah, because it's like... Yeah, a few pages before this, it was like, Tavius isn't married because... Yeah, Princess Kaylee got sick, and he's too lazy to ascend the throne and have, responsibilities beyond being a drunken, lecherous pig. Yeah. And that was literally said, 2 pages ago. Yeah. And then it came up again, and it was like, hello. And then there was, I don't know, there was just some awkward sentences. There was one where there was an and instead of probably, a then. Otherwise, it didn't make sense. I don't know. It was weird. I don't know. I'm not really used to, pointing stuff out like that. But, yeah, it just really got to me. So, is this just being sloppy, pumping it out, or...
I think so.
But, there's also a lot of pages and a lot of words, so, I feel like no matter how many times you sift through, it could easily be missed.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it seems like... I think she's going to pump out 2 or 3 books this year.
Shit.
There's going to be another prequel book and then a main book, I think, maybe this year.
There better be a main book this year.
That's a lot. Why is she writing like she's running out of time? But yeah, anyway, so there's a scuffle with... Tavius, and he's like because Sera's always throwing insults at him because he's all like, you're a failure, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's dying because of you. You're worthless, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, she gets her final word in and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And seemingly King Arnold is kind of like, when Tavius. Oh, I don't know.
Tavius.
Every time Tavius is in the room, King Arnold is always like, kind of like on his side, kind of in agreement. But like when they're in private, he seems sweet.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. There's that one scene with like the dates bowl or whatever being thrown at her. Yeah. And then he like tells Tavius to leave. And then he's like.
And then literally that night, King Arnold just dies.
Mysteriously dies. Says it was because of the heart. But I think Tavius had something to do with it.
And because obviously Sera crossed the line with him, and so he goes on a little tangent. He like threatens her and like hits her and all that stuff, and starts to whip her.
He whips her in
front of some statue. Maybe they have a collar statue. I think it was in front of him, and obviously Nyktos, in full primal form.
Yeah, well, because Nyktos is watching Sera.
Yeah. Then why not just take away from the beginning? I don't know.
Because he didn't...
Like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry.
He didn't want a consort. But I think it's more that he didn't want to take away her freedom.
Maybe, yeah. And also...
And also because the deal was never meant...
For him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this whole thing. Like, they're both... But, yeah, I guess in a way, Sera, she was willing to, like, do whatever it took to fulfill her duty.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Poppy gets that, like, devotion from as well.
Yeah.
Being the maiden, or maybe it's just the way that they're like groomed into that position.
Yeah.
But then Nyktos is all like, because they have very deep conversations about like, I never wanted to do this, but I'm willing to kind of do it either way. But then now they're in a weird place.
I think the difference is like Sera was born, she's like, well, I was born to do this.
Yeah.
Whereas Poppy was like, well, I fought for my freedom, so now I get to do this because it's my choice.
And then now that Sera was rejected, she feels like, well, what's the point in life?
Yeah.
And that's, she really does drive headfirst into danger, which is like, is this like a little suicidal ideation type of thing?
I saw a review where, it says that she's like, very highly...
Just not caring.
Like, I think like parasuicide. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but it was like suicidal without being like, being like, I want to die and then do it. Yeah, it was like, I would put myself at risk.
Yeah, just like silly goofy mood, see what happens. Yeah, I get that. And then obviously Nyktos throughout the book, when he obviously catches feelings, he's all like, why do you not value your life?
Yeah.
So that was very kind of sweet of him.
She's like, no, bitch, I don't.
No, because like you failed me, essentially.
Yeah, she's like, well, you rejected me, so who could ever love me?
Yeah. Which is a bit dramatic. I mean, but like, when you have the pressure of the rot forming and there's no like aiding or anything, it's just...
Yeah. So once, this stuff with Tavius goes down, this is where it all kind of kicks off.
Yeah. Finally take her away.
Yeah. So kind of all throughout the book though, there's this recurring theme, that's not the right word, but anyway, of Sera having like a headache and a sore jaw.
Oh yeah.
And like when she brushes her teeth, like that's very modern.
Modern technology.
Yeah, anyway, she brushes her teeth, her gums bleed, and I was just like, how interesting that this is happening.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, she's going through the culling.
Yeah.
And that later gets confirmed.
But it's also, it's weird, because it's like, it's not a natural culling, it's...
Yeah, it's because she has... So we find out that...
This is where I get clusterfuck.
Yeah, Nyktos' father. So Nyktos was never meant to be the Primal of Death.
Yes.
It was his father first, and then his father died. And then...
Technically, his father was the Primal of Life.
Yeah.
And then Collis, his brother...
Oh, yeah, and then Collis
fucked
stole
everything up and just... Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Nyktos' father planted... Okay, wait.
Yeah, he planted the last remaining Ember of Life essence into the Mierel bloodline.
The Mierel bloodline, so that like Collis could never fully be.
Like, I just love you said it's just said as if like, what's the intricate details of that? Like, or like what? How?
Yeah.
But logistically, also, what does that mean?
Yeah, this story that gets told a few times in the book of this. Collis loved this woman.
Yeah, it was
something
about, it was like a Clift of Sorrows story.
Yeah, she was...
So Holland told Sera about it.
She was planting flowers, and then Colas appeared before her and she got scared, so she fell off a cliff and died. So he like brought her back or whatever.
Yeah. He became obsessed with her. It was like a very obsessive love at first sight type of thing.
Yeah. So he like begged what's his name to bring her back or whatever.
Yeah. Or Ethos.
Yeah, Ethos.
That's it.
And then so that happened, and then she like lived a second life.
Yeah.
But she was like unhappy.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a whole thing. And then, but this story comes up a couple of times. And then Sera talks about she can smell like lilacs.
Yeah.
And then like after a few times I was just like, she's reincarnated. Like
Yeah.
this is...
Yeah, I didn't realise it was... until the story came up a second time, because the first story, it was more the fact that Sir Holland saw Sera as a warrior, because she's obviously doubting herself and her life, because obviously she's not fulfilling what she was destined to do or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Sir Holland's just reminding her that you're a fighter, you're a warrior, keep living, all that shit. And then, yeah, the second time it comes up, I'm like, oh, of course this has to be important. This really obscure story.
Yeah, and so, yeah, to keep...
What was the name? Sortia?
Yeah, Sortia.
Something like that? Sotoria, probably,
I think it was Sotoria.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so to keep, like, Colas from finding her...
Yeah, because he's the primal of life, because he wanted to always, like, bring her back, and the reason... Oh, because her soul would end up in the Shadowlands, and in the Fade and all that stuff, like, and because he would then have access to it, being the primal of life, in order for him to stop being so obsessive and possessive of this person and soul. Yeah. Ethos and whoever, marked her soul to forever be reborn, so, like, he could never, like, bring her back. Yeah. And so she, at the mercy, and that's where we learn that, Sera is obviously, reincarnated. That's how I imagined it. Like, I don't know how, like, true it was, because that was a very fast, tense, skimming process, but...
And that's how, she has this ember of life in her. And that's why she has the gift to bring people back, because she has this ember of life in her.
Yeah. And she is ultimately going to be the one to restore the balance between... Because there has to be a primal of life and death. Yeah. In their correct spots, because technically there's two primals of death. Because Colas at his very essence, he always have the ember of death. Yeah. It's all very confusing. I don't know why they do this. Yeah, no. And this is all in the last, like, 10% of the book, bro. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
But then Niktos finds out that Sera just planned to seduce him. Yeah. And kill him. So he gets mad.
Because they all think this is connected to the rot.
Yeah.
And so she thinks killing Niktos will rescind the deal, because there is a line, I think Ector says, and it's like, oh, did you know that breaking the deal is... Oh, what was it? It was such a cool line.
It was like the only way to break a deal is to, like, through the death of, like, one of the...
Yeah, it's to benefit the summoner or something. Yeah. It was such a cool line, though. I really liked it. But, so ultimately the deal would break if Niktos died. Yeah. And obviously Niktos got very upset, because they've fallen in love almost at this point.
But he's also... he needs to feed.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Yeah, there's been a lot of, like, tussles and battles and stuff. Like, it's a lot. Like, we are so askew with this. Like, this is such a big, overwhelming book.
Yeah, so he needs to feed. So then Sera's like, well, feed off me. And then, of course, we all know how drinking blood and stuff goes. So they have, like, hate sex.
It was delicious.
But it was delicious. But it's actually love sex. Like, it's a whole thing. Yeah. And she, like, has a bit of his blood, and she's like, yummy.
But then we learned that is what's elevated this culling process, or is she ascended or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
it was like an accidental happenings.
Yeah, because now she's got the ember of death and life, or whatever, like, through his blood.
Yeah, which is weird, because then there was this whole, like, are we technically related talk as well, and it's like, it's so confusing.
I know, but they explain, they're like, no, it's like you have the essence of his father. Like, it's,
kind of like if we want to compare it to Akatar, like Feyre with all the other lords.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But and ultimately, the rot, it has nothing to do with this deal. It's just,
it, like, would have happened anyway.
It's just because of this imbalance between life and death.
Yeah.
Because throughout the book as well, while Sera is traversing Elysium and the Shadowlands? No. What place? Oh, I'm confused what locations are.
Macedonia?
Yeah. Lasania? Because she recognises, like, a forest that's, like, in a similar rotting state as the rot back in the mortal realm and stuff, and so she's, like, wondering, like, what's connected. And then through conversations and stuff, Niktos is telling Sera stuff that kind of we already know as been reading through the 3 main series books, like the blood of a goddess spilled will mark like a blood tree and all that type of stuff, which is really cool. Love those little throwbacks, even though this is like the more recent thing we've discovered. We learned that there was like a germ attack as well at the lake.
Yeah.
I know we're going backwards and forwards, but like there are different types of germs, and like you're introducing new things to stuff that like it's already been kind of like established, because there are hunter germs and different sorts of germs, and
that's just like, I know him.
Yeah, I know him. I know that guy. And yeah, we learn that Collis has created these revenants, and you know, seemingly in the Crown of Gilded Bones, like revenants are these ancient yet new-ish creatures that have been developed.
Yeah, so there is these revenants. I feel like they're kind of like basic revenants.
Yeah, probably.
To begin with, but...
I suppose once you add the element of the Ascended into, like, that we know of, and also, being chosen is a completely... It's not as blessed as it's made out to be. Like, they're just people who are used and abused by gods and primals and stuff, not necessarily, like, a vampire. And then there was this situation with, like, this mortal girl... Because, like, in Elysium, like, mortals can live there and all that type of stuff, like, but it's very selective few.
Yeah.
And, like, there was this, situation with this mortal Gemma. She was dying. Oh, she was chosen, and she was in Colossus court, but she was also rescued. So we have that parallel as well, like, like, Eos and Bel and all that, they're rescuing these chosen from other primal courts and stuff, because obviously it's a process that they are against. And, like, she's dying, and then... Sera brings her back from the dead, which is cool.
Yeah.
And like her powers are getting seemingly more amplified each time as well, because I suppose being in the land of gods and primals and stuff, like the ether has that amplification. But it's funny because they keep saying you have like a small ember of life, you can bring things back, but I feel like that's still quite powerful. I feel like
she's still very overpowered. It's like. Yeah, like, you can bring people back from the dead. It's like, seemingly, like, there were no consequences to that. It's like, you would think that...
The consequences are the gods tracking them down.
I know, but, like, for her personally, I feel like, you know, for every 5 people you bring back, you have to kill an innocent or whatever. Like, I feel like there should be some of that, because...
See, I think Sera does... Because Sera and Nyktos have lots of talks. Yeah. And she does explain to him, like, she never used to bring people back because she felt like she was taking souls from him, and that would anger him. Yeah. Which is very interesting, considering, because as a death god, you judge souls, and you feel like they're the ones in charge who decide who lives, who dies. Yeah. Imagine there's a souls quota every quarter. Yeah. So there's a lot of talking and dialogue in this book, and then the last 10% is where everything goes down. But I think it is hard to talk about this book without having, I know people you need to read this before you read War of Two Queens, but I think this is hard to talk about without talking about War of Two Queens. So I don't know. I feel like this should have been after Two Queens. Maybe. Oh yeah, hang on. Back to the... All is revealed that she knew how to end the deal in favour of the summoner. That was the line. Yeah. But obviously that has nothing to do with the rot and all that shit. Yeah. See, this is hard because a lot happens. Yeah. Very action-packed. I think... As a result of bringing Gemma back, there is an attack on the city, on the rise. And there are these weird-ass fucking creatures. And, this is when Nyktos is pissed off, because he just found out that Sera tried to kill him. Which I love that he stayed angry for a long time. Because, very easy to just slip, I'll just oversee this indiscretion, and, I'll love you, and all that type of stuff. But, he was really butthurt. Magic vagina, yeah. But no, I liked that he remained angry, and, he had every right. And, even Sera, she understood that he was upset and, enraged. I loved that, though.
But I think, again, so many of these situations, again, it's yes, that was what she was going to initially do, but obviously you both have feelings for each other, so she's obviously not going to try and kill you now. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. She would always be they would say, oh, lock her up or make sure she doesn't have any weapons, and she's like, I'm just not going to kill you. Because, once the cat's out of the bag, you're just I'm not going to do it now. So, there's an attack on the rise. Nyktos and Sera kind of fight, will fight them, and Sera saves his life and all that type of stuff. The god Bel gets pummeled by somebody. I forget who. Sera wants to try and bring her back.
And everyone's like, oh, just let her do it. What's the worst case that can happen? Nothing happens. So Sera manages to bring her back, and that's when everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, because to bring back a god as a primal, because she ascended Belle to primalhood. And this is what I don't understand. Because, like, Sera has ascended Belle, and now Belle is able to contest primal Hanan for, like, of Hunt and Divine Justice.
Because they're like, oh, it's not a normal ascension. It's like, okay, but, and again, that never gets explained, and it's not explained in the next book. And it's like,
my question is, like, how do we know she's contesting for that court in particular?
Yeah, and, like how do you know
she just get chosen?
She is actually going to do that.
But also, I think, when I asked those questions to kind of, like, myself, I'm like, because I think she's described as like a huntress, and again she's doing all these things about saving chosen, so like is that justice in a way? Is it just like a reflection of your character will determine what type of primal you're going to be? So but apparently like you can contest primals and all that shit if you've been ascended a certain way. I don't know, see, this is also confusing. Let's just go straight to the end, because this is just the clusterfuck. So the ending is pretty much surrounding Sera's culling process.
Yes.
Because everyone's like... Because Sera explains that she used to get these headaches and shit back in the mortal realm, and, like, Sir Holland would give her all these teas.
Oh, yes.
And apparently this tea is only specifically known to people of Elysium, or, like, gods.
Gods and stuff,
And so he's like, oh, how does Sir Holland know this? And, of course, that's when we all begin to get sus of Mr.
Oh, and then
Sir
she
Holland.
had an old nursemaid who was like, only the fates can tell you what your life means or whatever. And so she thought she was just being, like just
wise.
Saying, wise. But no, so they decide to call the fates. The airy.
And like, if they come, they come. If they don't, they don't.
And looky who shows up.
Sir Holland is a spirit of fate and airy and all that type of stuff. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. I'm like, Empress. Who the fuck? I don't know.
And then there's just this huge exposition dump.
And then eventually the goddess Penelope is coming to light, and we're like, the namesake of Poppy, whatever.
And she talks about like everything. One day there will be like Poppy and Castiel, there will be like a queen of
there'll be a chosen queen of flesh and fire, and king of from blood and ash will rise together, blah 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 blah. And I think also at the end, it's a thing that, like, Sera is destined to die at the age of 21, regardless. Whether it be at Nykdos's hands or her hands.
Except that it's an unknown path.
Like, this is where it also gets confusing, because there's all these, like, fate lines and, like, destinies, and, it's very Avengers Endgame, that one possible...
out of 14 million.
Because, having Nykdos's blood in her and him feeding on her has kickstarted a culling she won't survive. But obviously...
love.
But, love. I was just going to say the most ultimate prize and whatever emotion conquers all is love.
Love is the answer. If she has love, she won't die.
It's the unexpected thread.
Yes.
And then it's also just kind of revealed that, like, Sera is the primal of life. All in the last, like, 50 pages. Like, it's so warming. Ugh.
So I think
I'm done with this book.
Ultimately, I'm done with this book. Like, I think that was like 45 minutes anyway, so that's good.
Oh, no. Oh, I just meant that as an exasperation, not like done with the recording. But like, I'm done with this book.
Like, I'm torn between it was necessary and it wasn't necessary, because I don't think it was, and I think it's just raised more questions about things.
But it's good to know that there is, like, a legitimate prophecy that Penelope had, because that's obviously something that Alistair has significantly alluded to in Flesh and Fire. And
Flesh
then
and Fire.
Flesh and Fire. And then, like, what did Castiel say that, like, Atlanteans don't believe in prophecies?
I think something like that.
So, like, obviously, but I do like that sense of, like, difference in history, or, like, it's just kind of like Chinese, like, whispers, like, elements are being removed and all that type of stuff. And, like, because in a world full of ether and magic and gods and divinity and all this stuff, prophecies is the hill you're gonna die on that you're not gonna believe in. But no, that was cool. We have Holland being a fate, and he's not allowed to, like, interfere, but he was allowed to, like, guide, but not directly interfere with anything.
And he's like, I was pushing it when it came to the tea.
And so ultimately Collis is after her because he threatens the imbalance that he's created. I don't know what else to say, man. I think this book has rocked us to the core.
I'm excited to watch read War of well, I'm excited for you to read War of Two Queens now.
Yeah.
With a bit of context for like one scene. But...
for one scene. Oh yeah, the rot is a consequence of there being no primal of life. Oh, there was also mentions of like the poppy flowers that Nyktos would describe.
Yes.
That was always a fun little tidbit.
Mm-hmm.
They're like poisonous or venomous or something.
Yeah.
They have like spurs, which is really cool. Yeah, I'm just going through like my notes just to see if. Oh yeah, Ethos and Collis were brothers. I don't know if we made that clear. Yeah, Sotoria, the Cliffs of Sorrows. But like, of course, that little story had to have like the biggest impact. I do love the idea of the reincarnation though, because then it just makes me think. Oh, I did have a thought that maybe Poppy is Sera reincarnated, but
That's
if Sera is
what I thought
sleeping,
as well, yeah.
But if Sera is sleeping, because well,
I don't know. Is it her soul though? Like,
soul.
I mean, she has some of her in her anyway because it's
being
her grandmother.
Yeah, grandmother. Yeah, like that's where she gets her powers from as well. Obviously. Yeah, I want to know who this Empress is. I don't know why I've put it in my notes. But yeah, if anything, if the crowd of gilded bones is anything to go by, I just can't talk anymore. Obviously, Sera and Nyktos succeed in the end of whatever they end up doing. So, like, what is the point of this prequel series, though? Just like an honest question. So, did I fuck up? I don't know. Oh no, there's no Empress. I don't know. Maybe it's meant to be Ethos or something. I don't know. And yeah, there were a lot of scenes as well of like them babysitting the Draken because obviously the Nectus is there and his children.
Yeah.
And we get to see their human forms at points as well, which is always pretty cool. Honestly, I don't know what else to say, to be honest, just because like I'm so overwhelmed and like everything is like out of order. This is a wacky episode, I think. So yeah, ultimately Coles is just after Sera. But I liked getting a little bit of the backstory about the other gods as well, like Eos, like she was kind of rescued as well.
Yeah, it was cool, but like it could have been a throwaway line in the main series.
Maybe, yeah.
Also, I'm feeling...
because Sera ends up running off into the woods, the Bloodwoods, I think, and like she's attacked by like old entombed gods that are being freed. And all this is because of all the power ripples that she's creating by saving people.
Yeah.
How about just not use your powers, please?
Just too kind.
Alright, honestly, yeah, I honestly think that's it. Like, I'm so, like, overwhelmed and
it's just
out of whack. It's
so
a lot.
Unnecessary, yeah.
Yeah. I think you're just angry at the fact that it's not necessary.
I will never financially recover from this.
Yeah. Ultimately, the character relationship, I think it was great.
I liked
considering it started from rejection.
Yeah, I liked it if this could have been like a standalone fantasy.
For sure. Because now I'm just, just adds extra elements to the main story.
Yeah, because now I'm just mad.
I'm so confused. Just quickly, like, yeah, how did you just see the development of like the relationship, even though it started from like rejection to betrayal?
Yeah. I liked it. I think it was, I think they could have had a bit more communication about some things.
Like him telling her that he knew who she was. Yeah. And that type of thing.
Yeah.
Could have solved a lot of issues.
Yeah, and even like, I'm not going to kill you. Like, I love you.
Yeah.
But I think it was done well. I liked their dynamic.
Yeah, I liked the dynamic as well. And I did like that he was, remained super pissed for a while because, like, finding out that someone who you seemingly are falling in love with is just trying to kill you.
Yeah.
But then it happened so far in, and it's like, what's the, at this point, if she wanted to kill you, she would have
done it, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But yeah, and just all their deep talks about, like, why is your life so worthless and all that.
Like,
and he keeps calling her Lisa,
yeah,
which was
my
always
queen.
cute.
Powerful.
Except his definition of it was something beautiful and powerful, instead of like a goddess.
Yeah.
Like, so again, just shows how much like history has kind of altered throughout over the decades and all that stuff. I'm interested to see moving forward with this prequel series is like what causes the gods to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's going to be the end game. Them going to sleep.
Some of them could have beforehand, but like. Sera and Nyktos couldn't have gone to sleep that long ago because they have children.
But they could still be asleep. Like it could just not be like a normal living experience. No, I might do some like research and figure out just for my own sanity, like if there is anything on like the From Blood and Ash like wiki or whatever, if there's any like reasoning, like or at least a timestamp when the gods go to sleep. Maybe when the balance is restored. Yeah. Because ultimately, Sera would have to. Well, they would have to restore the balance, and then this would kickstart this prophecy.
Or is this just not kickstarting a war of gods?
I don't know, bro. Oh yeah, talking to Eos about primals and gods sleeping, they can reach a stasis. And then there's Arcadia, which is like a garden ascension of peace. And where was this needed in the potty episode? Nowhere. No reasoning at all. Alright, I'm done. I got nothing else to talk about. I don't know. Alrighty, this is probably a bit of an all over the place episode just because it's a lot. Maybe we should have read it after A War of Two Queens.
Well, everyone was saying that...
I know.
So,
we did it and we don't think it's worth it.
Well, I read it and I was like, it only explained one thing. I mean, you might get more out of it if you read.
We'll see.
But we'll see.
Alrighty. But yeah, thanks for listening. Again, sorry it's a bit all over the place, but whatever. It is what it is. Link in the bio, in Instagram. Linktree, find us in all the places.
Follow us on TikTok so that we can get verified, so that we can put our Linktree
in TikTok. Yeah, we're also obviously available. YouTube, Spotify, Apple
Google
Podcast. No one cares about Google Podcast.
You did.
I did, and then now like nothing's coming of it, so. But that's alright. Anyway, yeah, so keep following our From Blood and Ash journey. I'm sure we'll feel super more enlightened leading into like
super more enlightened.
Yeah, shut up. I can't talk. Leading into A War of Two Queens, although we do have a breakup book in between, as we've learnt our lesson in the past.
Yes.
So check out or keep an ear out for Love on the Brain next week by Ali Hazelwood. We both have just finished it and we have thoughts.
Feelings and emotions.
Yes, very interesting ones, of course. But yeah, keep following along for the From Blood and Ash series. Like there's still like overall, there's like at least another 4 books to go.
Yes.
At least for me. So
yes.
It's a lot, bro. I don't know. Again, longevity for the sake of quality.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Does it need to be 600 pages?
No.
Yeah, anyway. Oh, I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad.
With that, goodbye.
Goodbye.